Hey there gang, Kawaii50 here with another Fake Grand Order video, and gang, it is time to talk about a servant I have been overwhelmingly excited for, and I can't wait to use her with impunity to take down as many opponents as possible. That's right, it is time to talk about Manannán, also known as Bazett. We're going to be referring to her as Bazett just for the sake of simplicity, and she is a brand new alter ego servant we got this Valentine's Day. We're going to be going over the best allies, craft essences, and command codes for Bazett, so you are going to be able to use her with impunity to defeat every single opponent she comes across, with her very, very unique noble phantasm that requires a little bit of thinking on your part. Hopefully this video ends up helping you out. If it does, please go ahead, like, subscribe, share, comment. All of those things done on the YouTube really helps me out as we try to get to 10,000 subs this year. Let's get started talking about Bazett. Bazett comes equipped with 2 quick, 1 arts, and 2 buster cards, with a quick type noble phantasm that has some very unique properties. Let's take a look at her stats. Overall, she has 12,835 attack, which is the 4th highest attack stat in the entire game, which is incredibly impressive, I'm not gonna lie. Her NP per hit at 0.8% ends up being very good, considering her quick cards hit 6 times, so odds are you're going to be able to use Bazett's unique noble phantasm to instantly recharge her NP and do it all over again. Her star absorption sitting at a 98 is also fairly average as well, allowing you to funnel critical stars into Bazett. Though with her being a quick type servant, you're not necessarily going to need to work all that hard to do that, because you're probably going to be hitting star overflow more often than not. Bazett's first skill is her primary damaging skill, Seal Designation Enforcer. This increases her quick and buster card effectiveness by 20 to 30%, increases her critical strength by 20 to 30%, and applies special attack against caster type servants by 20 to 30%. All of these buffs end up lasting for 3 turns. We are going to want to go ahead and max this skill second so we can maximize the amount of damage that Bazett is going to do. There is another skill that's a little more important when it comes to Bazett's overall utility, but this skill is what you're going to pop at the beginning of any farming run or boss fight, so Bazett can bring the pain. Bazett's second skill is Sea God's Runes rank EX. This is our beloved 50% NP charge skill, but you gotta get it to level 10 to get that. This also grants Bazett additional star gather rate and additional critical strength for 1 turn. We are definitely maxing the skill first solely for that 50% noble phantasm charge, but the crit damage is a nice extra bonus. And Bazett's final skill is Red Branch Successor rank B. This gives her 1 turn of evasion, 1 turn of debuff immunity, and also grants 10 to 20 critical stars. Overall, this skill, while it seems important at the start considering it gives Bazett 1 turn of evasion, you can actually achieve similar effects with supports as well as craft essences. So depending on the situation, you might only want to go ahead and level this skill up to 6 just to get those additional critical stars. Of course, leveling it to 10 is going to get you the maximum effectiveness, but considering we don't get any extra procs of evasion or debuff immunity off of this, this is easily Bazett's weakest skill. Looking at Bazett's append skills, the first 2 are the ones that mainly stand out. I would say extra attack boost is the most important one between the 2, considering Bazett is going to want to Brave Chain as much as possible in order to maximize her damage and noble phantasm refund. Load Magical Energy is also fairly good, granting a solid 20% starting NP gauge. If you manage to somehow max this out before you max out Bazett's second skill, then you've got 50% NP charge immediately at worst, and 70% at max. So overall, this is just generically good on absolutely everybody. Bazett ends up being no exception. Before we take a gander at the noble phantasm Bazett has, what is important to mention for her is her specific skill, God's Holder rank EX. This increases her critical strength by 5%, but most importantly, it extends the duration of offensive buffs on Bazett to the end of the enemy's turn instead of to the end of your own turn. This is very important when it comes to Bazett's Noble Phantasm. She wants those buffs to hang on to the end of the enemy's turn so her Noble Phantasm can actually deal some damage and actually benefit from your own servant's buffs. This is very, very important. I'm very happy they gave her this skill, otherwise she would have been absolutely useless. But because they actually seem to think ahead when designing this servant, God's Holder is very, very strong.
Answer.
Now that Noble Phantasm you just saw was Fragorok, the carving blade of the War God. This is a very interesting Noble Phantasm. This ends up giving Bazett 1 round of target focus and 1 round of Fragorok counter status. So when Bazett gets attacked, she immediately counters with Fragorok. This deals heavy quick damage to the enemy, decreases the enemy's quick resist by 10% for 3 turns. Yes, this does stack, and it grants 10 critical stars upon use. Now, of special note, this isn't going to activate during any sort of special actions, so field effects, HP break bar effects, any scripted events from the story aren't going to pop Fragorok. However, Fragorok will pop if an enemy uses a Noble Phantasm or any sort of debuff skill on Bazett. So if Bazett gets hit with, say, I don't know, defense down, she's going to go ahead and punish them for daring to debuff her with Fragorok. Of important note is that this does not break an enemy's gauge. It will leave them at 1 HP, but that is what the rest of Bazett's normal attacks are for, right? For breaking that break bar. Now, also of special note, this also has an overcharge effect, increasing Bazett's attack for 1 turn by 10 to 30% depending on the overcharge level. I absolutely adore this Noble Phantasm. This thing is super, super neat, and with some solid craft essence as well as servant skill manipulation, you can actually have Bazett be a farmer if you'd like, and have her clear entire waves of enemies no problem, solely by countering with Fragorok. If you end up playing your cards right, no FGO command card pun intended, Bazett can even completely clear waves of 6+ enemies like we're starting to see, allowing her to just completely dominate the field when it comes to events. Now, the downside of this is Bazett is going to need heavy investment in order to do so. With most servants, I mean, NP2 is generally the absolute best, but if you want your Bazett to be super strong, as many NP copies as possible are going to be in your best benefit. She's still entirely usable at NP1, you just will need to focus more on early investment in her skills to make her as effective as possible. Let's talk about some allies for Bazett. She really needs that quick support, doesn't she? Well, of course then Skahawk Scotty is going to be your main go-to. Of special note, I also need to mention later this year we are getting Skahawk Scotty Ruler. She is another quick/buster support, and she is very, very strong, as mentioned in my top servants of this year video. So she is also going to be a servant you're going to want to be on the lookout for if you want to get another supporter for Bazett. They end up pairing very, very well together. Of special note as well are servants that end up using things like Scapegoat or granting a sort of taunt that pushes enemy attention onto Bazett. Remember, Bazett needs to be either targeted by debuffs or attacked by an opponent in order for Fragorok to pop. The easiest, most budget-friendly option to use for this is going to be Chen Gong. Daddy Long Gong here is going to go ahead and force enemy attention on Bazett and allow Fragorok to pop. Alright, let's talk craft essences. When it comes to Bazett's craft essences, I really gotta mention, if you're looking for the most freebie-friendly option, I've gotta give another shout out to Traces of Christmases Past. Quick card effectiveness and NP gain will allow Bazett to routinely Fragorok, and a starting 50% NP gauge means she can hit 100% charge all on her own. Of other special note is Crimson Teacher's Pointer. I would actually recommend this more when you're going into boss fights. This grants quick card effectiveness, quick card critical strength specifically, and that starting 50% NP gauge boost. But you might also be worried about Bazett's survivability. You want your Bazett to go ahead and counter as much as possible. You may not have servants that can really give her that much of a defense boost, but there are other options available. I'd first like to mention something I routinely put on Coup Alter to great success. This is Volumen Hydrogyrum. This gives a servant 3 instances of invincibility and damage plus 500. Also, this art goes hard despite how not hard Cainith Elmaloy went in Fate Zero. Overall, this is a great survivability craft essence and works fantastically on Bazett. I also would like to mention Under the Sun, something I use repeatedly on my Barghest to excellent effect, to the point I consider it one of her best craft essences, if not the best. This grants 3 instances of evasion and a 3 to 400 point damage cut. So even if Bazett's evasion falls off, she's going to take less damage from every single attack targeting her and still be able to counter with Fragorok. And finally, let's take a peek at our command codes. For Bazett's quick cards, we are going to want critical star absorption on those cards, especially if we are using something like Crimson Teacher's Pointer as our supportive craft essence. The one that carries Fortune is going to be your cheapest option in this regard. This grants critical star absorption plus 100% if it's put on a quick card specifically. There are, of course, other options besides that. There is Lady Justice, which I quite like on Bazett. This grants critical star absorption plus 100% and grants 2 critical stars when attacking using the engraved card. You'll also want to keep an eye out in the future for Hosho Tsukige. I really like this on Bazett. This grants critical star absorption plus 50%, but also increases the critical damage of that specific card by 10%. This is absolutely wonderful on one of Bazett's quick cards. Now when it comes to Bazett's Buster cards, we want to go ahead and put critical damage command codes on there. Yes, you want to draw Bazett's quick cards, however, you're not always going to do that. That is just the name of the game. So when it comes to those Buster cards, let's make them deal the absolute mosterest, most ultimatist, most greaterest damage possible. Yes, I did say that intentionally. Cavall II can be great on this, increasing critical star absorption and critical damage on the engraved card. You can use this if you like, but I tend to want to go for straight critical damage on those cards. You're going to want to definitely keep an eye out for Hosho Tsukige, like we mentioned before. That can also be a great option, but there are so many great critical damage cards for your Buster. Holy Paper Bag can be awesome. This removes an attack buff from an enemy when attacking with the engraved card, which can help increase Bazett's survivability and increase critical damage by 5%. That's right, a whopping 5%. Curse Spear that reverses causality is great for breaking through evasion and grants 10% critical damage on top of that. And of course, there is our trusty Heavenly Child of Karama, granting a flat 20% damage boost. And finally, we get to Bazett's Arts card. You can just use this for any sort of support, any sort of healing would work great on Bazett, allowing her to continue to survive if she's out of evasion uses. If your allies end up don't having any sort of invincibility to grant her, this can be a great way to keep her alive when this card pops up. Of course, our Maiden of Orleans can grant 1000 HP when attacking with the engraved card. If you throw this on Bazett's Arts card, you can go ahead and give her some form of healing and regeneration. Otherwise, you can go ahead and just go with a strict debuff cleanse. Something like White Vessel's Command Seal or Code Cure as our freebie option can be a great pick for Bazett's Arts card. Overall, gang, if you haven't guessed by now, I really like Bazett, and that's not just because it is an instance of them actually trying to do something different with a character. I think Bazett is a very powerful alter ego servant, and I think on top of that, she has potential to be one of the best characters on your entire roster. The problem that a lot of people run into with Bazett, and I'm absolutely willing to say this, is she has a higher skill ceiling than a lot of other characters. You need to put in a lot more investment, and you really need to think about how you're firing off your skills in order for Bazett to maximize the amount of counters and the amount of damage she's able to deal. You can go ahead and just pop on YouTube and check out so many people doing Bazett runs. Plushie Mistress is one I definitely want to shout out. The second I saw that run, I knew I needed this character. Bazett overall, you gotta think. You really gotta think about how you're using this character. There are other characters that exist out there where you won't really have to think about how you're using them as much, and you can deal a lot of damage. So there are lower skill ceiling, higher damage characters out there. But if you want a character that takes FGO a little differently, a character that has a different playstyle, is overall really fun to use, and can grant you some of the most exhilarating runs in the game, definitely invest in your Bazett. I promise you will not be disappointed. But I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts on Bazett down in the comments section below. Let me know if you think there are any allies, craft essences, or command codes I might have missed, and let me know if you were able to summon this servant. If you want to check out my Bazett summons, that video also exists on the channel as well. And it was a pretty exciting summon video. I had a great time recording that one. As you're popping down into the comments section, be sure to check out the Discord, the Patreon, and the Ko-fi. Huge thanks to everyone on those platforms for all of their support, and of course, a big thanks to all of you on YouTube for watching to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Seriously, I do. But anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next one.